What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll. We're back with another great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about sex, love, and relationships. So if you guys have any questions, anything like that you want to mention, please drop them in the chat. Let us know. I'm feeling a little bit like weak and fatigued today. I had my catheter change. I don't know. Just so bear with me. These guys are going to carry me, I think. So, but just wanted to let everybody know. And yeah, so I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 21 years ago now.
I'll take your upper body, Shawn. Bobby can take your legs. We'll carry you all the way
You got
through.
it.
Don't worry.
Oh, I got the easy
No,
part.
yeah, I mean, I got this like nice, strong upper body, so might as well put it to use.
I was gonna say
And you
the
gave
Um,
me
easy part. My legs are
you
not the
gave me
easy
the,
part. I will kick the shit out of you if you try to pick them up. They
oh yeah, I
spasm
forgot
all.
about
You're
that.
gonna. Uh,
but yeah, Shawn might be talking about sex, love, and dating, but me and Bobby are talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. No, I'm just kidding. But I am Tom Conaway, C6B quadriplegic for the last 27, going on 28 years, and yeah, excited to talk about sex. What up, Bobby?
Not much. It's I got to them. Let's talk about what's that song? Let's talk about sex with
Let's talk
me.
about
Let's
sex.
talk about you and me. And then the other one of carrying you, Shawn. It's he's not heavy. He's my brother. I don't know. Maybe too old. I'm too old for that song. But maybe.
actually, I'm trying to think. I've probably heard it, but I just.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. From I don't know.
Yo,
Who knows?
when are we gonna
I
do
know.
live to roll karaoke night? Let's do it, dude.
Oh, we
Let's
I'm
do
should.
it.
We
actually on
should.
board for that. Let's try to set that up. That would be fun.
We'll put Leah in charge to be our DJ. Hit the beat. I'm Bobby Rohan. I'm with these guys, C56, and of 35 years here in California. Welcome back, everybody. Looks like we got the chat rolling. Paul's in the house. Grace and Leon are the usual suspects, and our wife host of the day, Leah, and Jay.
What's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, Gracie and Paul and Leon and Jay? What's going on? The song you were singing, the "Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk
Yeah,
about you and me." I told this story before, but I grew up with my disability, so I was injured when I was 4 years old. Obviously, like sex, that kind of stuff wasn't really on the table to have a conversation about, which a lot of doctors and stuff do if you're like past puberty and you're injured. That's one of the things that they generally cover during the rehab phase is sexual function and the changes your body's gonna experience, the possibilities, the options for medication and stuff. I didn't have that during my rehab phase ever, but I did have a physiatrist, Dr. Amy Hutro at UCSF, who was my physiatrist with my spinal cord injury doctor for a number of years while I was a teenager, until I moved down here to Southern California. And when I was like 13 or 14 years old, I had an appointment, and she just breaks out into that song. She goes, "Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you." And it was just really funny. And she was like, "I want to talk to you about sex and sexual function and stuff." And she was like, "Do you want your mom to be in the room, or do you want us to kick her out?" I'm like, "Let's kick her out." So we kicked mom out and just had a really awesome, candid conversation about sexual function as a quadriplegic and like options for medication and stuff, and just like what it would mean for me. And it was a really important conversation that I am so thankful and grateful that she brought up and had with me at that time in my life, because it was something that I was certainly thinking about, like post puberty and stuff, and like, being in high school and, just talking with like all my guy friends and stuff. Like, it was just like conversation that everyone was kind of having. And it was something that I had thought about. So the reason I bring up this story, and the reason is one, I was reminded of it from that song, but I always think it's a really great conversation to have with your doctor, especially if you're able to have it with your spinal cord injury doctor, your neurologist, or your physiatrist, whoever that might be, if you do have one, and it's something that is on your mind, something that you have questions about, or, maybe just like have the conversation because there may have information and stuff that you don't know about in regards to sex, and it can be very important, I think, and always good to just have your doctor clued in on everything. So just to start things off, talk to your doctor, folks, if you have questions about sex or sexual function. It can be a really great place to start to gather information and to better understand your sexual function post disability.
How old were you, Tom, when you finally got to talk to the doctor?
I was like 14 years old.
Okay.
So I was still
Yeah.
pretty young. I was still pretty young, but I was like I just gone through puberty a couple years before, and um, like
Now, trust me,
boy needs
that's
to
the
be a
age.
boy.
That's the age all boys, even though they didn't go, yeah, oh yeah, I've had sex. Oh yeah, I've had sex. When you're about 13, 14, telling your buddies, oh yeah, you haven't had sex. Oh my God, I've totally had sex. But
Well,
obviously
I
you
was a
didn't.
pretty nerdy, like teenager. Like I was a fucking dweeb, so I wasn't like making any false claims. But I did have a lot of questions, and mostly about like just my future. Like not so much like at that time. Like I wasn't really like pursuing that. That wasn't like high up on my priority list. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about like, is this something I'm even ever gonna be able to do? Or is, like, and getting answers to that question was very, I don't know the word for it, reassuring in a sense, like I guess, like because I just did have those doubts. Like when my friends would talk about sex, like I'd be sitting there thinking, like, I don't even know if that's an option for me. And
Mhm.
the stakes weren't so high when I was a teenager, like whether or not that was like an option for me, but it was reassuring to know and understand that not only like was it a possibility, like an option, like something that I could certainly do, but it was good to get some meaningful information in regards to all of it.
When you got hurt, was Viagra out yet?
No, I don't think so. Um, well, yeah, maybe. I used to be a big like NASCAR fan with my family, and the number six car, Mark Martin, he was
Yeah.
sponsored by Viagra, and that was back in the day. So it maybe it was like just becoming a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
Like
was
one of the big
was, was
trade.
that
Go
something
ahead.
that you needed at the beginning, or have you ever had to, or is that? Let me ask you: do you need that kind of
I don't need
performance
it. I don't need it. But like having like uh, I don't know. We could talk about the nuances of sex, like having penetrative sex, like more traditional like sex. Um, it's it's certainly useful, like
Yeah.
maintaining like erection and stuff.
Mhm.
Like just making it like a little easier. Um, but not for like all like sex. Have I used
Right.
it or do I require it? And I don't know. I'm fortunate enough to like still have like I don't know, like
Gain
sexual function
erection.
or relatively normal sexual function,
Right.
like post injury. But it was something that took me like years and years and years to kind of figure out and understand. Just like trying to understand my body and like how it works and like what works and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I do have a prescription for sildenafil, which is like the generic Viagra or whatever.
Yeah.
For when I feel like I need it, I have it. But
You get
I don't
through.
use it.
You get yours through the pharmacy or from one of those like commercials you see.
I don't know. I just talked to my doctor about it.
But you go to the pharmacy and get it, the
Oh
cheapest
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just have a prescription from my doctor. I just go to Rite Aid and get a
Mm.
refill.
Yeah. Okay. Nicole, sorry you're not feeling well and UTIs. Check out our show from last Thursday. We talked a lot about UTIs. So the Rolling Over the Hill show, and many of our past shows. Obviously, we've talked about UTI, so hopefully you feel better. Shawn, how about you? Sex.
Um,
Give it to us.
it's
Everything about it. Show us.
Tell us about your penis. Oh, I'm just kidding.
I again, I think that's pretty standard for a lot of quads is having like Luis has said. I think it's a reflexic erections or
A
whatever because it's
reflex
like
erection,
because they're
yeah.
reflex basis. So it's basically just like the stimulation, like touch stimulation will still stimulate, and yeah, it does still work. But again, also using something like a Viagra or the generic versions of it does just help prolong erection, keep it, longer and stronger. And
I do it like pool.
so it just depends. Yeah, like sometimes it is nicer to use something like that, and other times it's good just to have, just use natural whatever you got naturally. So, and usually even that does work well enough for me. A lot of times for me to ejaculate, I have had to use if I use the something to prolong the erection. It's easier for me to ejaculate during like regular sex or like not using vibration or the vibrator.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give like a some of the words that we're using? Can I just give a
Yeah,
little rundown of some of the
yeah.
terminology and stuff? Just kind of like the general knowledge base. And I do apologize for the ladies out here. We're like our three dudes talking about like sexual function. Like, as a male quadriplegic, unfortunately, we don't have a lady on here to talk about it. Um, so it is very like male centric perspective. I do apologize that offhand, but we try to cover everything as generally and broadly as we can. But if it's a little
And,
male centered, like it's just the nature of it.
and also, the ladies have talked about this if on our women's show. So definitely look at our past women's show for anyone out there that is new to the channel. And we do have a women's show, and they have talked about it too. So, and Shawn was trying to get a female to give that side of the perspective.
I should
But
have texted Gretchen actually to see if she was available, but I didn't
It's a
text
tough
you.
conversation, especially if it's like three dudes and one lady and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's some
Maybe
like,
try to do a mixed
need,
panel, a couple ladies.
yeah, yeah.
But I
Like
was
maybe
gonna say, Bobby mentioned the lady show. Both women's shows have actually talked about it, but the Rolling with the Golden Oldies just talked about it like like they had a
yeah,
really good show about relationships and sex and stuff just from a couple weeks ago earlier this month. And it's like, yeah, Julianne, Ellen, and Michelle all really like they were very real and stuff. So it's a cool episode if anybody wants to go watch it.
and
And real
Ellen
quick,
Stoll. Yeah,
oh,
I'm just going to say this too. Ellen Stoll, for any ladies out there, reach out to Ellen Stoll if you want private and more questions. She is an open book. She will tell you like it is. She's great about the subject. She was one of the not that Playboy and sex has anything to do with each other except you see someone undressed, but she was in Playboy, the first disability lady to pose in Playboy, and she's just an open book, very comfortable with the subject. So you can reach out to her. Sorry, Shawn.
and I'm gonna just give this. I have not said this on the show, and it scared the crap out of me. If you go back to was that the first show we had with Ellen? No, it was when you had her on. I think I was showing pictures she sent for me to show her, or maybe it was the women's show, and I didn't realize one of them had full breast shown. It was it was a small picture when I was putting it up, and I put it on the screen, and I looked, and I was like, "Is that a boob?" And I had to take it off the screen immediately. So don't flag us, but Live to Roll,
I
go
think
back and find that. You guys go if you guys are looking for it. But there
I
is a
might have
boob
said
flash
that
from a Playboy from one of her photo shoots, and I was like, "Oh, my bad. I did not
it was
realize."
funny, but before I even like knew about like Ellen and her involvement in the community and all that stuff, she's a teacher at the university that I went to, and I just ran into her one time. I volunteered in one of her classes to speak to her class about like volunteering with some like with Triumph Foundation or something here in Southern California, and I was following up with her about the accessibility at our gym at that university, and I needed her email, so I just Googled her name to get her like email, her teacher email for the university, and the first thing that popped up was the Playboy stuff. I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck? What?" Was not expecting that, but in any event, it's just funny. All right. So is it cool if I dive into some of the general stuff that we're talking
Yeah,
about?
go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So we were talking about drugs, Viagra, Cialis. There's lots of erectile dysfunction medications out there. There's lots of generic ones now since they've been a thing for so long. So if it's something that you think might help you out, talk to your doctor about it. I don't think there's too much risk in like trying them out. Especially if you start with like a low dose or something, and it can certainly yield a positive benefit. Um, Viagra, there. I've also read some studies that it is potentially useful for women as well who suffer from SCI. The main reason being is these medications are a vasodilator, meaning they just help increase blood flow to your sex organs, and that is true as much for women as it is for men. It's more obvious for men because the whole erection thing, but the increased blood flow to sex organs can be kind of universally beneficial to pleasure and sexual function, even for ladies. And there's some interesting studies out there. So again, this is something to talk to your doctor about, and also maybe do some research yourself about possible benefits of something like that. Again, there's really not too much side effects or anything. And so it can't hurt to, maybe give it a try and see if there's some benefit for you. Okay. Shawn was talking about reflex erections. So there's uh, two types that happen, like psychoactive erections, which means like you're horny, and you see something that turns you on, and that results in you know an erection. Um, that is less common for folks with SCI. Um, the generally like it can still happen sometimes, uh like depending on your level of injury, the incompleteness of your injury, but majority of the time that's like generally the function that's lost. But especially for quadriplegics, and again, I've read lots of different studies about this, like there's lots of like differences between paraplegics and quadriplegics and different parts of the spine that are injured and the aftermath as a result. But commonly on the sexual function that we still maintain is the ability to get a reflex erection. So that's from like getting like sexual arousal from direct stimulation. um, and yeah, exactly what it sounds like. So those are the two types, um, at least that I'm aware of. And when we talk about like reflex erections versus like psychoactive, like that's the difference between the two. One's it's like going on in your head, causing stimulation in your body, and then the other is like direct stimulation to your sex organs that results in an erection or sexual stimulation. Um, yeah, that's kind of the general. The other thing that Shawn mentioned was vibratory stimulation. That's a very common way that individuals post SCI are able to achieve orgasm or like ejaculation, is using vibratory stimulation. Um, we can go into more detail about that. Not every vibrator is the same when it comes to being quadriplegic. The again, I just read a lot about this stuff because I was just curious, and sex is fascinating. The real thing, like the difference that you want to look for when looking for a sex aid that uses vibratory stimulation, is amplitude versus frequency. the amplitude of the vibrator versus the frequency of the vibrator. So the frequency is the speed at which it vibrates. The amplitude is the distance at which the vibrator moves. Um, the that information generally isn't on the side of the box when you look at something like that. But if you do like a little bit more detailed research into a specific sex toy or something, you can actually usually find that information. There are certain brands. The one that is commonly referenced, I would not recommend. It's called a Ferticare, which is actually like a medical device. Maybe the only benefit of that is I doubt you could get it through your insurance, but it is considered a medical device, and like you may be able to find some way to maybe acquire it through those means, like medically. But I wouldn't recommend because it's like $1,000, and there's $20 vibrators that you can get off Amazon that will do the exact same thing and not cost $1,000. But it is again designed for like quadriplegic use. So there are some benefits to that. I honestly, just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. No pun intended. Um,
But I
like when
think
you can just find something
I
cheaper online.
correct me if I'm wrong, Tom. I think that one's more for for those that can't even gain the erection to help with the ejaculation process. Um, to and usually there's some kind of feeling that goes along with that process. Um, is because of the speed of the device that it can get that. I guess it's a quarter size that you use underneath, and it helps with more of ejaculation than more of an erection type
But no,
stimulus.
all the vibrators only really help with ejaculation, not erection. Like if you
Mhm.
have it in the wrong spot, it's just gonna you're not gonna do anything. It's not gonna make it erect or anything like that. And yeah, those ones just have a higher frequency, but or have like a high range of like their amplitude and frequency, like Tom was talking about. But they do make like pretty quality ones and different ones that have adjustability. Um, and those will still again work with a flaccid penis or an erect penis, depending on um,
Right.
like whatever. So like even like the magic wand one, that's what I have. Like it's the Hitachi magic wand, which that I finally got after getting some cheaper ones, but the cheaper ones they're just cheap, and like the motors will just start to die like after like 6 months or whatever. Like so this one's lasted me several years, and it's been good. So it's a little bit more. I think it's like $60, $70, but versus like a $20 one. So just spend a little bit extra money, and that thing has the amplitude. I feel like that the Ferticare does, but
And with the
Oh, I
higher
bet it does. I'm just kidding.
and with the Verticare or a device like Sean's talking about, anything with more amps, you're gonna have to be cautious about skin irritation, breakdown, around that area that you're placing it for that type of use, because you can
Skin
cause a pressure point.
Absolutely. I mean, any sex toy that you use ever, be mindful of that. Make sure it's a material that's, works with your body and your skin and stuff. But also, if it is like a vibrator or something, like be aware that any kind of long term use of that, uh, not so much long term use, like using it over like years, but I mean, prolonged use, like during, sex or masturbation, be mindful that it could possibly cause some skin breakdown or
and
something.
I suggest as
So
well using a little bit of lube. You don't gotta get crazy with it, but it will help the skin irritation. Or so something, because if it's just a raw plastic, it's going to wear through your skin in a matter of minutes. And unless it's going to only take you a minute to happen, like you're going to wear your skin.
Yeah,
So
and
if
and
I
it's a lot of, and it's more the heat that's going to break down the skin than anything. So you want to make sure you're being okay. Sorry, Tom.
no, I was just saying, I've never had that issue, but I've always been mindful of the possibility, and yeah, don't rub your Don't rub your
I'm
junk
not
raw,
going
you
into
right?
details, and
That's our advice.
I'll plead the fifth on this one, but it can happen. Trust me.
John, you got to change the title. Our advice today: don't rub those wieners raw, guys.
All right. I feel like we can maybe. I mean, we can sure do a show about fully sex, but we do have women in the chat, and there is more to relationships than sex. So
And I think yeah, and I wanted to go what Gretchen, you're exactly kind of you're right in my lane. We are talking about um, the wham bam, thank you, ma'am, of grabbing that erection, having the sex, But really, sex really comes down to what you're saying, Gretchen. I mean, for me, before when I got hurt, there wasn't a lot out there. My doctor didn't, the team said, oh, 17, don't show him the video. Luckily, I had the coolest OT that said, come on, they're being dumb here. Let's go into this room and we'll watch the video. And I didn't learn hardly crap from it in the sense that, okay, yeah, people can be intimate after your injury. It's so funny if anybody's seen it. It's old 70s, hairy of both genders, you're just like, whoa, that's a little bit too much. But, after I got a rehab and experienced it firsthand, I didn't have, the aid of anything, and it taught me how to be what Gretchen you're saying, to be emotional, to use touch and sensation, and to find out what works with you and your partner. And that's really what it comes down to. I'm not a big fan of taking something. I don't gain an erection very easily. So I had to rely on that, and I had to rely on really with the communication with my partner. And you know, I I was a virgin before my injury, so I didn't get to experience it what it was like before. So everything that I got taught, which was probably maybe a little bit of a blessing, maybe not, who knows, but it helped me learn more about my partners and her needs and what we can learn together that was going to work for both of us. And you know, nine 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 times out of 10, everybody liked it. Liked that process. Um, and I made them feel comfortable to a point where it was just like, wow, that was amazing. I've never experienced something like that. So definitely, really, sex is coming down to touch, feel, understanding what each person wants.
And this can be like as true as much for able-bodied people as it is for disabled people. Like, orgasm is not the end all be all to sex. Like, that should not be your like goal with like being intimate with your partner, is like, having like an orgasm or like getting off, or even like, attaining or like maintaining your erection or anything. Like, there's a lot more to intimacy and love making than that. And a lot of people or taught that or told that, or understand that, but it's a really, really important thing to learn, especially if you have a disability, I think, because I don't know, a lot of people just put a lot of emphasis on that. The emphasis should not be on that at all, but the emphasis should be on, like the pleasure you and your partner, are feeling and experiencing and sharing with one another. The reason like we did talk about orgasm, and especially like using like sex toys and stuff, can be very important for fertility, like trying to have a child and things like that. That's really when that comes into play more. Why you laugh?
Oh, I love Jay. Jay, you're awesome, man. Yeah, I did work for Christy Alley. Come on.
Um, So, so yeah, let's get more into the um, other topics involving all this stuff. Is there any particular place you want to start, other than saying that dating fucking sucks?
so yeah, I mean, we can talk because dating is typically pretty hard for most people with disabilities, especially mobility disabilities. It's not like something that is very, hidden or like any, like it's quite obvious.
And we have three guys here. What sucks is that it's harder for probably women than it is for men, in my opinion, that I've seen in my 35 years, of talking to others around me, and Grisella and maybe Gretchen, if you want to chime in. I've always just discovered that it was a little bit harder for them than probably for guys. Um, but that being said, that sometimes the switch is could be the opposite, where women are looking for, sometimes a strong man. They say, what are you looking for a guy? He needs to be strong and brave. I mean, a C5'6" are not going to be anywhere strong, lifting boxes up into the garage or something like that. So it's just hard. What you have to teach a person that you might find interest in is that first, your heart and your kindness and your gentleness and your braveness, and whatever your characteristics show, you know show that first. And then luckily, somebody that's not going to see you for somebody that has to be walking, lifting boxes or anything like that. If they get to know you, that's what they're going to fall in love for. And I think that is so much better than finding somebody that is just using you for whatever it could be. As a
I
poor
think I think
thing.
strength um, can I think someone can be strong in a lot of different ways, and while they not be most like strong in like the most traditional way, I think a lot of times people with disabilities have strengths that sometimes a lot of in areas that a lot of AB people do not. It's just really kind of coming down and like whether or not like someone can see and recognize that and understand that if that's what's important to them, like a traditionally strong, like like man's man to like do things around the house and like pick up shit or whatever. um and if that's what you're into, great. More power to you. Um that that I think is very shallow and very surface level stuff. When it like comes to dating and like trying to find a partner, if that's like your highest priority and like the majority of what you care about, I think that's just kind of shallow and weird. But that's just my opinion, and if that's like what you do like and what works for you, then more power to you. Like that's the beauty of all this stuff. I
Jason,
think.
right?
Sorry, Bobby. Go ahead.
Oh, Jay said it best right there, Tom, is what you were trying to say. If they don't see you for your good qualities, they ain't worth it.
Exactly. If like you're only seeing someone for that quality and it's like a deal breaker, then I think you need to reflect more on what you're looking at or like what like is important in a partner and stuff. Um, because there's just so much more to a human being than like their physical. I would say the advent of like online dating and stuff. You would think that would make things easier. I think, like, particularly if you have a disability, it might make things more difficult. Um, Being online and being behind a screen, it allows for people to be more shallow and more superficial and more fucked up. So, sometimes people like feel a little bit more um, like okay to like say things that they would never ever say to someone's face, or to make like a shallow comment, or to just like automatically judge based on, I mean, the basis of online dating is like making a judgment usually based off of the paragraph and what you see. So you're like literally just sitting there judging people almost purely based on their looks. And the reality is that a lot of people, they especially when it comes to like considering a partner for sex and dating, is they see someone with a physical disability, that's like an automatic no. It's just an automatic no. Peace out. It's just like a purely physical judgment, and they move on to the next person. They literally swipe to the next person. So I would say that you do need to have a thick skin if you are in the online dating space. I like wish everyone was kind and considerate and not assholes. But unfortunately, there's a lot of those people today. So it can affect your self-esteem. It can kind of, hurt you sometimes. No one understand that able-bodied people go through that too. If maybe not as much as like someone with a physical disability on there um, doing that, but it's something that you should be prepared for if you are exploring the online dating space. Just be be prepared to have a little bit of thicker skin, and maybe not try to take things too personally if someone is shallow and superficial in that regard.
Gretchen said it though. I don't care if you're in a chair or not. Dating is just hard, for a lot of us. Some have it easy, but also that is sometimes what you see in the movies and TVs. And somebody that's probably dating, had hundreds of dates, probably not really that type of person that somebody should be looking for anyway. It's just tough, and online, yeah, they're not going to see your good qualities, right out the gate. And if you're judging somebody on a chair or not, it's BS. Granted, it is hard. It's hard to be with a partner that is in a chair for a guy or a gal. It's there are some drawbacks to it, no matter what you say, and it sucks. We know it, but somebody that has love in their heart to accept somebody who's male or female that might be a chair user or somebody with a disability. Um, Usually they see beyond that. They don't see that there might be more days, bad days of having, those UTIs or maybe a skin breakdown or AD all day. They see beyond that, and it's tough to find them. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack sometimes, and I know it might feel like that. Um, I mean, it felt like that for me. 13 years of of dating a few people before I met my wife, and it's frustrating. But I know that there was a lot of people that I forget who said it. They're crushing on somebody right now, and it's really hard. Yeah, I crushed on so many, and but at the end of the day, when they didn't see me for who I am, well, they're lost. And after I met my wife, I had one person call back and go, "Man, I was an idiot. I see you all the time, doing this. I saw you in the paper the other day. I I wish I could ask you back, but I know you're engaged now, and and that was really cool. I mean, that somebody just picked up the phone to say, "Shit, I screwed up."
Man, what a mistake I made, Bobby. I'm just
You,
kidding.
you could have.
I could have.
I tried.
I could have had you. I could have had you. God damn it. Just
You,
kidding.
you had me from hello.
Oh man. Um, yeah, it's I do also like want to say this. I've also come to find out that like as much baggage as like you bring to the table with your disability and stuff that like someone might have to understand or like be a part of like dealing with, uh, almost anybody is also bringing baggage in some different way, shape, or form in equal measure that you have to be considerate of and you have to be mindful about and be a part of and be supportive of or be there through the good times and the hard times and stuff like just because someone doesn't have a physical disability doesn't mean that they don't have baggage that they're bringing to the table. I mean
Oh
that
yeah.
is the reality of like relationships and dating is that like like because I felt like that before. It's like, oh my god, who the fuck is ever gonna want to deal with all my shit? Like that. I'm bringing along. As like a part of like dating Tom. But like I've learned that um, almost almost any partner, able-bodied or otherwise, is gonna bring as much baggage in a different capacity that you're just gonna have to be considered and deal with in the same way that they are going to be with you, and that's part of being in a relationship, and that's part of dating is like people people are people, and everyone's bringing some kind of baggage to the table when you enter a relationship with them, and um so don't feel so bad about like the baggage of your disability that comes along with you, because everyone has that in some way, shape, or form. I promise you that.
No,
Hmm.
certainly everybody out there does have.
It just unfortunately our baggage shows up first. You
Ours
know.
is just
Oh yeah,
visible.
ours is, we wear it. We wear it on
Yeah,
our
it's
sleeve.
visible.
Like you can't see us without seeing our baggage.
Yeah.
And that is where the difference is. Like oftentimes when you're talking to someone, or you see someone on, like that you have a crush on or something, you don't see all that, on their cuff like you would for us generally. So
Yeah.
that's like the big difference, and um, finding
We're all.
someone. If someone wouldn't want to date someone because they're in a wheelchair, I would not want to date that person. Even if they like made an exception for one person in a chair or something, like if that's your opinion and you're like generally how you feel, I would not want to be in a relationship with that person. So, like honestly, at the end of the day, I try to think about it like weeding out all the shitty people that you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with anyways, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. And
That's a good outlook. It's,
And
uh,
real quick in the chat, shout out Dell. Haven't seen you in a while. What's up, bro? He said
uh,
that they need to make a wheelchair only website. And Andrew, I guess, said he tried to make one in the UK, but he said for paraplegics, it needs to be a full disability one. And there actually is a website
yeah,
app
I thought
thing
so.
out here, and it's for both dating and just social networking, relationship connection sort of thing. I can't think of what it's called right now, though, Bobby. Do you know?
Yeah, I can't. I know there is one, and I don't know how popular it is or how useful it is, but I've heard of it too. And just 20 years marriage, I kind of forgot about it. So, you know, um, yeah, I don't, I can't think of it. But I'll search real quick on the internet, see if there's something.
Yeah, I forget what it
I
was.
not a huge fan of wheelchair exclusive dating apps. I don't know. I just don't like the idea that we have to be like in our own bubble of just like other people with disabilities. And honestly, like it can be really fucking complicated and hard to date someone who also has a disability, and wouldn't necessarily recommend that either. So that's just my opinion. And everyone, is open to their opinion. The beautiful thing about dating someone who has a disability is that they often understand so much without even having to say anything. Like that can be a really hard part of dating, is just trying to like get your partner up to speed on everything and all the nuances of your disability and how it affects you, mentally, like physically, emotionally, and otherwise. While dating a partner with a disability, has like some lived experience with their disability, it can feel really easy in the sense that they have a lot of that understanding already. But while I the whatever you feel, whatever you want to do, follow your heart. If you fall in love with someone who has a disability too, more power to you. If y'all are in love with each other, like that's great. But I just want to say, like, it can bring some nuance to the table. It's a difficulty that you might want to think about and be considerate of.
Yeah. And, one thing about dating apps is, there's too many, when it comes to exclusive, disabled dating app, there's a lot of freaky people out there and there's a lot of hateful people, which sucks is,
Oh, you
please,
want to talk about
please.
devotees? We can talk
I was
about
gonna
it.
say, I think Dell wants a Devo site because he said no, it's for able-bodied ladies. So if there's able-bodied ladies specifically looking for dudes in chairs, they're devotees.
But
But
there's
hey,
some
if
freaky,
that's what you're
hateful
down, if that's
ladies
what you're
out there
looking
too.
for, there might be a site for that or something. Gotta be.
Yeah.
There are sites for that. I'm sure. And for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, the devotee is kind of like a slang term for it. It's called a basiophilia. That's like the like actual like technical term for it, and it's individuals that fetishize people with disabilities. Um, Now, at the end of the day, like if my partner wants to fetishize me, let's go, baby. I'm here for it. If you want me to be your fetish, I'm all about it. But if it's just my wheelchair and my physical disability, then that is, I think, maybe kind of weird and different. Um, while I know that there are certainly wonderful, beautiful people that have this particular affinity, I don't want to pass too much judgment. I know that there are some people out there that also like over sexualize individuals with disabilities. It does not come from a good, healthy place, I feel like. And it's actually kind of creepy and weird, um, sometimes. And that's only from like me being on the internet and just getting some very sexually aggressive messages from these individuals at times, or just like really weird messages. So, again, that's something you kind of have to like form your own opinion on, and through like whatever um, information experiences you gather and garner from all of it. But it is something to be aware of, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was one that showed up here that said, but this is more UK, ablelove.com, but it says meet UK members now. Another thing somebody set up here is maybe look at online chats and Discord. I don't know about that. And the good old fashioned, go to eHarmony or something like that, you never know. You never know. You can strike up.
I have actually heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I have heard eHarmony will reject you based on being in a wheelchair, having a disability.
Yeah, I
I
hear.
don't know if
Wow.
that's a fact or not. I'm not, but somebody had told me that they tried to be
If
on
if
eHarmony and
that
they
is
were
a fact,
rejected.
that's a
Lawsuit.
lawsuit waiting
Lawsuit.
Because
to happen.
they have like their hot super high match whatever probability rate thing, and like so they basically don't, like it's not, and anybody can sign up. But I don't know. That was several years ago when somebody told me that, so I have no idea. That was probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it might have been their experience, or who knows. You
Yeah,
can't.
there might have been other things going on there too. So
Yeah, it's hard. Or there's also Match. I think that's another big one, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
Um,
it doesn't. Yeah, there's not. I mean, I let's move on from dating apps. Let's put it that way.
well, the last thing I do want to say about it is, if you do decide to go the online route, be honest and open about your disability. Don't be afraid to post pictures of you in your wheelchair and stuff. There is no hiding it. And inevitably, if you end up, meeting someone and talking and, wanting to pursue something with them, you are going to have to divulge all this information about the reality of your life. I would recommend not holding it back from the start. Just it's a part of you. It's part of your physical identity. It's part of who you are. And there is no reason you should hide it. And honestly, I think it makes it harder and more difficult if you have to tell someone after you've already connected, because it's just really important information that they should know. So if you do the online thing, just be open and honest about it. Plus, confidence is sexy. Like it's one of the
Yeah.
sexiest things, that
My wife,
have. I
yep.
think so.
My wife says, what made me fall for you was not your legs; it was always your confidence. You had so much confidence in what you did. I wanted to read this out. When you Google something, it says what people also ask, and there was one: is it hard dating someone in a wheelchair? The answer: dating at an older age is tough, whether or not you have a disability. Being a wheelchair user adds extra obstacles in the minds of others. They worry if down the road they're going to have to take care of you, um, if they'll be able to have sex with you. You know what's so funny about that? Down the road you'll have to take care of them. I mean, Shawn and Tom, we've met so many people, couples, where either the husband or the wife has had an accident and winds up in a chair. There is no guarantees in life, and if somebody thinks that there's a guarantee in life that I won't have to take care of this person, after getting married and being together, that's then you're not a person that should be, getting involved with somebody. Period. That you have to worry like, I hope I don't have to take care of it, of them down the road, because anything can happen. Somebody can get cancer. Somebody can have a stroke. Somebody can, have a heart attack. I mean,
They could catch a cold. I mean, I think that when some people say that, like, it's the most bullshit thing. Like, like taking care of your partner, I think is one of the most beautiful and intimate expressions of your love that you can share and have like with somebody. And I do not think that it's the healthiest thing in the world if your partner is your full-time caregiver. That being said, if that's the dynamic that works for you, and you found that it works for you, and can maintain healthy lifestyle and healthy boundaries like throughout it all, then dope, great, like that is awesome. That is the only issue where like I find like issue that statement is like, find a good caregiver, like life balance and stuff, like I don't know. And if your partner like wants to be your caregiver, full-time caregiver, and that works for you, that's dope. But I don't know, looking at that as like a negative to me is just so weird and stupid, I
Yeah,
think.
it's odd. And there, for anybody that's interested, our friends at New Mobility had this article, and it was called "Dating in My 40s as a Wheelchair User." It's in a women's perspective, and it was in the January 2023. So if somebody's interested in reading this article, that's where you can find it. New Mobility Magazine, January of 2023. Looks like it's in a women's perspective. So for our women out there, or just anybody who wants to check out. Um, it looks like a great story. It looks like they feature a few different people. Oh no, just one person. But there's the
Uh,
article.
we had a comment earlier. I think it was from Gracie mentioning how it can feel difficult trying to meet someone her day just because she's with her mom a lot of the time. Um, That's why I moved out, Gracie. It's because I was reliant on my family a lot. I lived with my family. I didn't really have much opportunity or freedom for privacy or any kind of private life that maybe would involve a partner or sex. Honestly, even masturbation. Like it was like there was always someone around. Like it was really hard to find any private time to kind of explore anything like that. So I made it my mission to attain some independence and some freedom, and worked hard for a couple of years to figure out how to create that space for myself. And I did it by moving out and going to college. It sounds kind of crazy and wild, but I mean, I wanted to go to school. I could have pursued an education closer to my family, and maybe stayed at home, but it was a really important like leap for me and like next step. And a big part of that was I wanted to have an opportunity and like a place to bring a partner back to, if you want to be like, have sex or be intimate or something. Um, that can also be true. And I think difficult if you have a lot of care all the time. If you have, you know, 24-hour care and you always have an attendant with you, how do you make time for that? How do you create privacy in the intimate space for you and your partner, or figure out going on dating? You talk about it, you have a conversation, and you set healthy boundaries. Like your caregivers and your people, and even honestly your family, like they should understand that you are a human just as much as anybody else, and that it's important to explore sexuality. It's important to explore dating and intimacy and finding a partner. If they are not considerate of that and can't help you like cultivate a space where you can explore that, then um, you need to change your environment. I think try to figure it out. But it is okay to set boundaries with your caregiver, being like, "Hey, um, I'm having somebody over, and between these hours, I need you to be gone. I need you to be invisible. Like I don't want Um, and it's okay to have that conversation. Um, I think, and it's really just about finding a balance and like kind of cultivating that space. Um, so I don't know, Shawn, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that can be a for sure an extra complication. And I know one couple that I have talked to that like we have friends local here, Frank and Tarina. Frank is a para, Frank is a quad, Tarina's a para, and Frank can't independently do his care, and Tarina can't really help him with that stuff. So they like do weekends away and travel and do things with a caregiver, so like there is ways to navigate it. You just again, like Tom was just saying, have good communication with both, your partner and your caregiver, like just make clear boundaries with everything. And I think you can definitely make that work. And Yeah, so I think it's for sure a possibility no matter what your kind of care situation is like that.
It can feel a little awkward and embarrassing to bring up and to talk about. But again, I promise you, this is perfectly normal stuff that everybody feels and experiences, like caregivers included. Like, if they don't have empathy or understanding, as to like physical, needs and, the importance of creating a space to, have the time with your partner and stuff, then maybe considering finding a new caregiver.
Yeah, that's true. If that's something you're trying to pursue, and like if you have been maybe talking to somebody, forming a relationship and things like that, it is good to have that conversation. And if that might not be the right caregiver for you, if that's something you're trying to pursue and they're not willing to make any
It's,
accommodations for you.
no matter what in relationships, there's always give and take on both sides. So, um, and if you have somebody that you care for, you and have a good communication relationship with them, you're both going to be understand. I'm not a person that likes to travel that much anymore, and thank God my wife is on the same boat. She's like, yeah, okay, I'd rather take short trips of somewhere we can drive where we don't have to fly. And it's about the communication. Sometimes you'll find out that you both like the same thing. And when I used to go on vacation before my colostomy, I used to have to find a nurse out there, wherever we went, if it was like North Carolina or something like that. I always found my own caregiver, and just because I didn't want her to do the bowel care. And, so, you know, there are going to be a lot of compromises when it comes to being in a relationship for both sides.
Yeah, so like Gretchen put in the chat, and we've all kind of talked about a little bit. Communication is definitely key. Make sure to communicate those things, any needs, any um, you know things that are gonna be hard for you, inhibit you. All that stuff is important to talk about. And again, going back to the dating site stuff, I was just gonna mention like, so when I used to do dating site stuff years before, when I was on those, I would have my first picture just kind of my face head. And then if you swiped over to the next picture, it was me in a wheelchair. And then I wouldn't put it in the first sentence. I would put it like two or three sentences down in my little description so that you actually, like, if they were just swiping based on a face picture and then they messaged me having no idea, I would know they're just a superficial dumbass. Don't care. Like, they didn't even look at my profile or care. But that gave me some sort of like, if they're new and they messaged me or liked or whatever, I knew that they at least read far enough in. Like they gave me at least enough time to look at a few pictures, see I was in a wheelchair, read in my description, you know, kind of a little bit about it. So that was going to be my tip for anybody that's trying to date out there and do that. Like that's kind of how I did it, and I thought it seemed to be okay. That way, you don't have to put it like right there first thing they see, because like Tom said, people are assholes and they're just gonna swipe. Like they're gonna swipe the other way. Like so uh, but yeah, that was just what I was gonna wanted to mention real quick before we close up. And next week, I was trying to do the last Tuesdays of the month kind of as open Q&A sort of questions. So if you guys do have more questions and kind of want to retouch on some of this, we can discuss a little bit more next week as well. That's kind of why I want to do that at the end of each month. So if there was anything we couldn't quite get to or something, or just stuff that people, want to talk about and things. So tune
Uh,
back in next Tuesday for if you want to have more questions. What's up, Tom?
we had like two quick questions in the chat. Taylor said, "Do you think you have a hard time getting a relationship? Someone physically disabled or socially disabled?" Um, I don't know. There's a lot of incels out there. I argue that they're maybe a little socially disabled, and probably with no physical disabilities, and they seem to have a hard time getting a relationship. So I don't know. I think maybe like the whole idea of like dating and stuff, it's a social interaction. So if he struggles socially, then I think it could be really it could be difficult. It can it but it already is difficult, maybe a little bit more difficult. If you're physically disabled, I think that it's really not necessarily relatively easy to overcome, but you can certainly overcome it, and especially if you have good social skills. So I don't know if it's like one or the other. There's probably a nuance in both. Gretchen asks, "How do you guys feel about answering questions about your disability first date? When is appropriate?" I would say that I don't know. I always say, like, even like in my profiles and stuff, like I'm an open book. If you have any questions, like don't hesitate. Feel free to ask. Like, sometimes I will get like a red flag if they don't ask any questions about my disability. It's like, aren't you a little bit curious? Like, um, and when is appropriate? Maybe not like the first thing they should ask you is like, oh, does your penis work? Oh, like tell me about your, sensation or something. But first date, certainly, if you're spending like 3, 4, 5 hours like out with someone, talking and getting to know each other, if they don't have any questions about your disability, even just kind of general stuff, I would say like maybe that's even a little concerning. Um, but I don't know. I would say if you can be, just be an open book. Like I got nothing to hide, and I'm always willing to share. And um, so anytime is okay for me. But if it's like the first thing and the only thing they want to know about me is my disability, then I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think to answer that question too, Gretchen, is, see how the conversation's going. I mean, if you're talking about just life in general, about work and other things, and that's the first date and it doesn't really come up, that's okay. I mean,
That's okay.
if you know the conversation's going well, I mean, why complicate it? Now if they're like, can I ask you a question? And you feel like what Tom said, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. I wouldn't give it to them the hard facts right away, but give it into your perspective. Yeah, you know, um, it's like this or it's like that, and maybe not like, oh, and if we get into this we're gonna have to get Viagra, and maybe not be so like throwing the axe at it right away, but see where the conversation goes.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree.
really good point, Bobby.
Yeah, so I think that's great advice for anybody out there. And yeah, like basically like you guys are just saying, it just whenever it is appropriate, I feel like it's just it comes up in conversation. It comes up like, but like if it is the very first thing, that might be something weird. Or if again they don't say anything, like and you've been on a couple dates or been talking on the phone or messaging back and forth for a few weeks. Uh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Just you could even just ask like, did you have any questions, general questions? Um,
Yeah.
but
And
I
that's
thought,
totally okay. And honestly, like a lot of the interaction I've had, like the person I'm talking to will ask, like, "Hey, I have some questions. I was wondering if it's okay if I ask you about your disability." And it's always like, "Heck yeah!" And I think it's like totally polite and nice, like if they do, like ask if it's cool, if it's something that you're comfortable with, because it just shows the consideration of your feelings and stuff. And I think that's a green flag.
right on.
mhm.
All right, guys. So I think that was a pretty good discussion on this stuff. And if you guys do have
All right,
any other questions,
everyone.
you can drop some in the chat. Come back next week and pop them in the chat as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Let's go ahead and thank our sponsors real quick. Uh,
Thanks, Leon. Thanks, Frogger.
Quad
yeah, thank you.
forager,
Forager, sorry.
uh,
Frogger. Uh,
Frogger.
Bobby might
it's
Every
a
be
time
video
I,
might be
game.
dyslexic.
It's a video game from the 80s and 90s, Bobby.
I feel like have you ever crossed the street somewhere and you felt like you were gonna be
Oh, yeah.
playing Frogger?
Every day of my life crossing Zelda, dude.
All right, guys. So yeah, let's thank our sponsors. I'll go ahead and try to thank them since you guys did a lot of the heavy lifting in this show here. But thank you to our sponsors, Mobility Professionals and Urology Professionals. Mobility Professionals is a local DME here in Southern California. So if you need any wheelchair or other mobility device like a commode chair, standing frame, anything like that, and you're in the Southern California area, please give them a call. They can take care of getting you all measured up and take care of everything with insurance, get you set up. And then Urology Professionals is their sister company. They are nationwide, so anywhere in the country, in the U.S., you can get your catheter supplies shipped directly to your door. So give them a call. All the information is down in the description. They're very friendly staff. They will help you navigate getting everything switched over. And they're just very supportive in the disability community locally here. So we appreciate them very much. Thank you to our sponsors once again for sponsoring the show. And then coming up this week, we got Tom tomorrow, cooking and life skills with Tom. So we'll see. Tom, you have an idea of what you might be doing, cooking, showing tomorrow?
Oh, I got an idea. We'll see if that idea comes to fruition. No, my plan was to do baked potatoes last week, but I had to go do some labs and stuff, and didn't have time to kind of prepare as much as I'd like to. We're gonna try to run that back this week. I think like I'll have the potatoes prepped, and we'll just like add all the goods together. And again, I'll try to bring in some fruit and some other snacks and things that we could talk about like fine motor skills and other things along with all of that. So if you feel like it, come and check it out. We've been having fun the last couple of weeks, and it's only getting better. So,
and it's a great hangout, guys and gals. To just hang out and shoot the shit with Tom, and and just like what you saw in the chat today, we're not just talking about one specific thing. We're talking about a bunch of things. And Shawn, you might have to change his little in the background. There's pizza, there's burgers, there's fries, and he's making some healthy salads.
I know I've been doing a bunch of health stuff, but I'm trying to
healthy.
lose some weight. You guys are trying to get fit. I don't know what to say.
What? It's almost like, oh, Tom, you should just go get McDonald's and bring it to the table and let's talk. I'm giving you a hard time, Shawn.
Leon said from
I'm
sex
sure
to
it's
baked potatoes. I want you to pull that off. Hey, baked potatoes and sex. That could be the title of my autobiography, baby.
I like that. I think that's we'll support that. Get the Tom autobiography from sex to baked potatoes. All right, and then after on Thursday this week, we got Wheel Girl Talk with the ladies. So come hang out with Brianna, Nikki, Ashley, Maya, and Jessica. They're always talking kind of what they got going on in life, different disability stuff, and kind of how they're dealing with it. And they're always just a fun, cool conversation. So tune into Wheel Girl Talk, and it's not just for the ladies. Anybody is welcome to join. So hop in Thursday at 3 p.m. and they will be on. So thank you guys. Appreciate you guys for watching. And again, we will be back next Tuesday. And next Tuesday again will be just more of an open forum Q&A hangout. So if you guys want to run back some of the sex stuff, if you guys want to talk any of the other hot topics we've had from the month, some heart stuff, or just anything else, we're here
Those
for.
are some of my favorite shows. I think some of our best shows, like just kind of their free form, talking about anything and everything disability or life. So I think it's gonna be a good one. Or encourage everyone to come check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely tune in. And then next week also on the Thursday, Bobby will be back with a little bit of the newer panel now. We got Bobby Robert, and then we got Paul and Chad joining now as a full-time. And Luis will still be filling in from time to time and even filling in on here with us. So he'll still be part of the channel as well, but just had some other commitments right now. So we got an awesome panel, you guys, for Rolling Over the Hill. Make sure to tune in next Thursday for that one as well, guys.
And to answer, Leon asked me a question. Number 5 car is going to win this weekend. Kyle Mason, he's going to win, bud. See, and I told you Chevy was going to win the Daytona 500, Leon.
Yeah, you guys are. I'm not so into the NASCAR stuff, but that's awesome. You guys have.
Just him and I. There was crickets there. So
I like Formula One. I don't do the NASCAR, but
I can't wait for the start. Yeah, I'm more into Formula One now than NASCAR.
Okay.
Less commercials for sure.
Hey, I mean NASCAR. Anybody can turn left and drive in a circle for a couple
There
hours.
you go.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just
I've
kidding.
heard that. My wife more makes fun of their racing suits. She's like,
Hey,
"Why are
I
they look
I grew
ridiculous?"
up next to Sonoma Speedway, and I went to NASCAR every year of my life from when I was born to when I was like, 20 years old. So I'm here for motorsports. I'm just
I
talking.
think being at one of the races would probably be a lot of fun. Like the atmosphere, just the live event
It
of it, like
it is.
would
It's
probably be
super.
really, really cool. But
It's like a whole weekend too that you can kind of go out there and like hang out and eat hot dogs and drink beer and have a good time. So
Yeah,
awesome.
even if you have one tooth or not.
That's right. All
and
right, guys.
and Jay Willie, you said it right. It's important to remember that being disabled does not make one unattractive. I'm disabled and attractive as hell. You go, girl.
I don't know that. Yeah, awesome. Support that for sure. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for the support in the chat. Make sure to come back next time. Tune in tomorrow. Hang out with Tom again in the chat as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Live to roll, everybody.
Live to roll.